race report on the Milford Easter Dash that I did just yesterday, 10K down in Milford, Michigan. The big surprise about it was actually a super hilly course. In retrospect, I think I actually read this somewhere, and I confused the two races I was looking at. There were two 10Ks I was potentially going to do, and my coworker was like, I'm going to do this one. So I just think I didn't remember that I had read it was very hilly, and was like, okay, I'm going to do that one too. And so I was surprised by it, but I should have known better, because I do think I read that ahead of time, that this was actually a pretty hilly race. So it's physically impossible for a loop course to be all uphill, but that's basically what it felt like. I remember one downhill basically the whole way. I kept thinking, as I was going, I was like, okay, like when I was through 4 miles, I was like, okay, I've been going uphill like this whole time. There's going to have to be a major downhill here. And there really never was. So, I mean, it was a lot of little incremental up and down, the whole way. But it sure felt like there was one hill that was really steep. Like, it was ridiculously steep. And that was at about 2.5, 2 3/4 mile. That was the worst one of them all. But there was a lot of hills. So it's definitely not a PR course. Anyone who's trying to set a PR, I would not recommend this race. If you're looking for just to have some fun and challenge yourself, I would actually love to train down there on those kind of hills, because there aren't a lot of hills in these areas, and I frankly felt gassed. I think there was two parts to that, three maybe. The biggest one, I think, was just the hills themselves, but I also, because of scheduling, the way it worked out, I ran a 10K last weekend, and I just don't think my legs were all the way recovered from that. I thought they would be, but I got just like right out of the gate, which was uphill, of course. I was like, I didn't feel as fast as I was just last week, and the other two big parts of that were about 95% of this race is on dirt roads, so needless to say, you can't push off as well from dirt as you can to pavement or track, or so there was that factor, and then the hills are the big factor. The initial sprint was pretty brutal, getting out of the starting gate and having to go uphill for I don't know, half mile or so. I was close to the pace I would have wanted to for those first 2 miles, and then the hills kind of took their toll. I ended up running like 6:39 pace, whereas just last week I ran a 6:20 pace 10K. So when you combine that with the fact that last week's course was short, I actually finished like 3.5 minutes slower this week than last week, which seems absurd. But about 1.5 minute and 40 of that is just due to the previous race being short. But still, that's like a 2 minute slower performance this week in a 10K compared to last week. So just did not feel great about that after the race. I was beating myself up a little bit, and I'm just going to try to basically forget this. My last two races were great. My half marathon I did 3 weeks ago, I ran a 1:27. I felt very fast. This week I'm just going to kind of throw it out there and try to forget about it, but definitely not the best for my confidence going into Boston in 2 weeks. So I guess I'll talk a little bit more about the race. It was a pretty small race. I would guess there were maybe a couple hundred people there max that ran it. They had different start times for the 10K and the 5K, and there was also a kids race. So it's a little hard to get a grasp on exactly who was running which race and all that. But so it was a small race. It was a local community race. It started at a church down there, started and ended there. They did have a nice little award ceremony afterwards. They had stuff inside. The church was open, so we could go inside and warm up and stuff like that, which was nice. So yeah, I guess it's one of those races that definitely wouldn't target if you're looking for a PR. If you're looking to challenge yourself, that's definitely a good race. Like I said, I'd love to train down there. The overall winner was very impressive. He ran like a 34 or something 10K, which in itself is fast enough, but when you consider the train, it's even more so. So I was very impressed with that. And there was one other kid that finished just a little bit ahead of me. But I guess the good thing of, if anything, is I don't think even if I hadn't run the race last weekend, I doubt I would have been able to catch him. I feel a little less bad about, it's not like, oh, I could have done better if I had just been under better circumstances, but I placed right where I probably would have ever placed, regardless of any of those circumstances. So can't feel too bad in that. I got third overall. That's still a good feeling. I got first in my age group and won some prizes, gift certificates, and things like that. So that was nice. So this is my final race report before Boston. I'm doing Boston 2 weeks from tomorrow. Getting really excited and nervous about that. Like I said, I'm going to kind of throw this race out. I'm going to base my pace probably more on the last 2 races, and try to set that goal pace and probably be a little conservative and then kick in at the end, because I don't want to blow up. But weather's looking pretty good for Boston. Getting excited about that. So I'll probably record my preview for that next weekend, and then I'll be in Boston. It might take me a couple days. I'm going to be taking actually all week vacation out there, so probably won't have time to record my video while I'm out there. It'll probably be after I get back, but I appreciate all the support. It's been a long time coming to be able to run Boston Marathon, and I'm really excited about it. I hope I do well. Subscribe if you like the content. I'll be back. I'm going to order my race shoes here and get those broken in a little bit, and yeah, I'll be back with a report on that and the Boston Marathon.